Welcome to Breaking Through the Contradictions. Here, we openly discuss various contradictions and challenges that we pass on and also teach our children that, if not addressed, will impact the individual development of each child. We will explore the topic, share pertinent information, and provide ways for you and I to take action. We look forward to you joining our conversation. So let's get started. The views and opinions expressed by the guests, speakers, and participants in this context are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the organizers, hosts, or any affiliated individuals or organizations. We encourage open dialogue and diverse perspectives, but the individual viewpoints shared during this discussion are personal and should not be attributed to any collective entity involved. I think that's funny. Hello again. I know. I have fun doing this. There are some things that I do that are just, I think for me, I'm just comedy.
Yes.
I'm just comedy on wheels, man. I mean, whew. But I see we have a guest today.
Yes. You want me to show our guest just in
No,
case?
because I think she's kind of quiet and very
She's
comfortable.
quiet. She goes to bed now.
Yeah, she's
Here's
like,
our
I'm out.
special guest.
There's our
And she's gonna
special
go right
guest.
back to bed.
I'm done. We're gonna do this again another time.
Yep. Done.
Right. So how have you been doing today? What was today like for you?
The day, actually, school was really good. We talked about how to spread kindness. And so we talked about it purposely. I ended up getting some honey from some LinkedIn connections from Nick and Stephanie. And so I went ahead and I paid it forward and gave them all some honey with some crackers, and then they ate it. And then as they were eating it, they put their finger to their brain and they figured out what they were going to be doing to pay it forward to others. And then we talked about it, what they did to help others out. So throughout the day, I didn't hear very much tattling. What I heard was, so and so did this, I did this, we did this. So there was a lot of community building. So that was a good day.
Oh, that is so nice. So it's always fun to hear. It's always cool to hear you talk about your littles because they are little, but they are mighty, friends.
Yes,
And it's good that I like having, so it brings a new point of view and a new respect for kindergarten skills.
it does. I even had one student, she was in foster care and they were very poor. And she could have either that or lived at the homeless shelter. I can't remember which. She didn't have very much money, but she had a heart of gold. She said that what she would like to do is to buy people that couldn't afford shoes. And that was in kindergarten. And I looked at her and I'm like, I could see her fulfilling that dream because you could tell she was going to be a powerhouse. So just of kindness. I mean, she was just one of the most compassionate children I've ever really seen. So you always hear those things. And my mom's not doing well. So she's very ill. One of my students makes my mom a picture. And so she can hang it up and see it. And then she made me one. So the picture that's going to my mom is big. The picture that I have is tiny. But it's tiny but mighty, and it will stay up in my classroom. So I'll hang it up. But it's just very sweet and very thoughtful.
I think that's really nice because having those type of kindergarten skills and being very intentional. And I'm glad you said that because that's part of what it is. We want our children to be we want them to thrive. We don't want them just to survive.
Right.
And so when some of them, I'm going to say some of them, when some of these beautiful babies come into our sphere, we're like, yes, we're cheerleading for their success. And we want them to be so successful. But again, a lot of the things is we as the adults have a tendency to do some things that really do not go well or does not do well for the student, right? And it actually causes them harm,
Right.
like today's conversation,
Yes.
being friends with children under the age of 25.
Right. And it
Right.
wreaks havoc, not only, well, in long term at home, when they're little, it's kind of cute, but then it quickly becomes not so cute because it creates a disaster. And then also it creates boundary issues.
Mm-hmm.
And then it also creates issues at school through their peers. Um, so we can talk more about that too. So I want to know what your views were on that,
Because, okay.
and then I'll put a timer on.
No, it's not going to be that long. Here's my thing with this. I do not believe that you should be, I do not believe in being friends with children under the age of 25 if they are your own. Okay.
Okay,
If they are
kudos.
your own,
Mhm,
we can't do that. If they are someone else's children, the friendships are not true. They're not real friendships. They are community building. So I kind of see it in different ways for the different role that you play in that child's life. As a teacher, it's you are just leadership. I take that back. Mm-mm. And I can correct myself, and other people can correct me too, because when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You are not just leadership. You are leadership for them. You are part of the bumper system that keeps them in place and going in the right direction. So teaching staff, education, and things like that. When we think about a bowling alley and you want to take your children to bowl, they can't, first of all, they can't hold the ball. So you get that big old ramp and you push it down. But imagine that your child doesn't understand how to aim for those pens. So you put bumpers up so that they don't always go into the gutter. Because you know how discouraging it is to have every single ball you throw to go into the gutter, never making it to the white pens, right?
right.
So you put the bumpers up. I think teaching and education and things like that are all of us putting our bumpers up for our children so that they can focus on the end goal. But you can't reach the end goal if you're friends with your own personal child. So teachers can be leadership and say, let me help. You're like the referee of things to get them to the end of the day safe, healthy, and intact, right? Parents, I can't be friends with a child under the age of 25. Neither one of mine I was friends with. And they were like, you're going to be my friend. I was like, I absolutely am not going to be your friend. And of course, they didn't understand it at the time. I said, we will be friends later in life, but we will not be friends now. And
Yes.
my children never understood it. But I believe exactly what you're saying is that it creates boundary issues and it doesn't give them the ability to decipher between leadership and correction and friendships, because friendships are those ones that should nurture nurture and help improve and give you some type of guidance, right? But the
Okay.
guidance is not guidance of growth. The guidance is, this is not how friends work, and if you hit me like that again, I'm going to punch you in the eye. And it helps them to get their stuff together, right? But
Right.
when you're friends with your children, this is what my mom told me, because I was like, why won't you be our friend? Why don't you? No, it wasn't friendship. Why don't you play with us? Why don't you play with us, mom? She's like, because kids don't know how to stop. And you have to draw a line. And being able to do that with a child, they want to play, 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 because all they see in life, that's how they're learning. They're playing
Mhm.
their life. But when you introduce a parent as a friend, when you go to discipline while they're learning and playing, it doesn't work. And that's where the contradiction sets in at, because my friends don't discipline me, so you shouldn't and can't discipline me either. And that becomes that one place where a lot of the parents are struggling.
I would agree with you. And we also need to think about children need safety and security.
Mm-hmm.
When we are their friend, we are not providing them safety and security because children need and like structure. Now, your children are going to say, "No, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to do that." But when they don't have that in their lives, they seek it. They appreciate it. So, um, the other thing is that you had mentioned was about the educational leadership. So our role as teachers are to teach our students how to self-regulate, how to deep breathe, making sure that our students are accountable for what they are saying and doing. So if my one of my students are, being not very nice to another student, we talk about that and the implications of it, and they come up with the solutions and why doesn't it work. Like today we were just talking about, and I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but we were talking about fairness, the children, and this kind of goes back to structure. The children were upset because not all the children were treated fairly. So the girls got picked and picked and picked. And so they picked a boy, and then the boys got picked and picked. And then the girls were like, wait, what? So then I said, okay, so we're going to need to come up with a solution. So they wanted to take turns. Structure again. They love structure. And then one of the other students said, we need to take it a step further. We need to make sure that the same children are not picking the same children. So they need to shake things up because that isn't fair. So children are about fairness and about what's right. And if we are friends with our children, we cannot provide that to our children. And so they're left to their own devices to figure out how things work because we're too busy worrying about whether our children like us or not.
Yes. I don't care if nobody likes me. Are you alive?
That wasn't, but did you ever notice
Yes.
they they liked you? So I set boundaries in my classroom, and my students respect that. My students are ready when I count to three, 1, 2, 3, and they are ready. If not, they'll do it one more time. That's it. 1, 2, 3, and they're ready to roll. So, I mean, they know because I've set those boundaries. I don't yell, I don't scream, but they know the expectations, and I treat them with respect, but they also know their boundaries.
Yes.
So setting boundaries is very, very important. You can do it nicely.
Yeah, so I agree with that because one of the things is we were talking about that earlier. I was talking to another educator earlier, and I said, let's be very clear. There is research that shows that if you add a Black teacher to the classroom for any student by the age of by the third grade, it increases their high school graduation, and it increases the enrollment into college, and it reduces the absenteeism. But it's not for one child, and it's not just for other Black children. It is actually across the board. So and then you're like, well, Tabitha, what does that have to do with our conversation? Very interesting. Structure. There's one thing that I know Black families in general, like if we generalize it, most of us come from an environment that is extremely structured and we understand. So we don't play the same way others play. So when you ever get that look, I know all of us have it. And when so my mom used to, we would go
I have that look.
and she was like, don't embarrass me and don't da, 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 da. And she would just do these things. And then all of a sudden we're playing and doing all whatever, and something goes off the rail and her head whips around and she gets this look, right? And you're just like, oh Lord, freeze.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
she's about to harm us. So
My
that's
daughter, my daughter's 26. She's 26 and she still doesn't like that look. She's like, that look is scary. So,
right.
but I don't have to say anything. All I have to do is do the look and, backing away, which I think a look is very powerful because
it is. And so those nonverbal cues are extremely important, but that structure, the reason why the age 25 though. So let's break down why. So what it is. So being friends with a 2-year-old is cool. You get to get on the floor and play and play Barbies or play cars or play dinosaurs, whatever, you can do that with a 2 and a 3-year-old, because what you're teaching them how to do is play with their friends that they're about to meet. You're gonna you're gonna play with them. You're gonna feel good about playing with them, because children give you life. They give you life in a way that we forget, because once we cross that threshold of adulthood, you swear up and down that the world has ended somewhere, right? But so everything's so serious that we don't get on the floor and play. If we would just play sometimes, man, how much more youthful a lot of us would be. When they hit about 8 or 10, then you're running for little league and all these other different extracurriculars, soccer, things like that, and then you're actually starting to take the role of spectator in their lives, right? You're starting to spectate. You're saying, okay, what do you like? Okay, you like karate, let me help you with karate. Okay, you like baseball, let me help you with baseball. And we're helping them along to learn. But if you notice, in those instances, when you introduce those team sports, you're introducing team play. You're introducing the opportunity for them to start building their own community and relationships, and learning from the first 5 years of what you've been pouring into them as what friendship should look like, and now starting to implement it. But pay attention to the position you're in. So it's either a coach, it's a room parent of some kind, but you're on the sidelines while they go and play this team sport. And then they get to run home and run back to you and say, Johnny wants to come with me home, or can we go get milkshakes here? Something like that. So they're building out their community, but you're not the primary,
Right.
and nor should you be. 25 is because I recognize that, first of all, I didn't think my children liked me. I could see why, kind of, but I was just like, but at the same time, they respected me. So there was a point in which they would say, "Oh, I'm not messing with her." When my daughter, I went on a field trip, never again. I would never do another chaperone trip because of this. But a little girl, she decided she was gonna not stay with the group, and she kept wandering off. And my daughter was like, I'm gonna need you to not do that, because I don't know if you know, my kid's young. She's like, that lady don't
Yeah.
play, right? And I went up to that little girl and I said, listen here, if you leave this group one more time, I'm sending you back to your teacher, because I refuse to not take you home to your mother. And if
Right.
you are not willing to stay with me, you must go with someone else.
Right.
That's what happened.
What?
She did not move off no more, right? She did not go off on her own any longer, because there were clear expectations and boundaries set. And with
And
the understanding that there was a
yes.
consequence for for the
Right.
choices that she made. She can
Mhm.
make them, because it's not good or bad or
Right.
indifferent. It's just her choice.
Yeah.
But I'm not willing to deal with your choices like this. So what do you want to do? Here are your choices. Two. One of two. She chose to stay. So we stayed, and we had a nice time for the rest of the time. But it's
Yeah.
stressful to have somebody else's child. But that boundary thing needed to be there.
Yes, it is. Field trips are not my favorite. They're fun, but I'm like super stressed. I'm counting the kids all the time to make sure that nobody's yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's
Staying by the
terrible.
entrance and all of that, because it is. It's like, oh gosh, you don't want
Yeah.
anything to happen. But
Yeah. So this
uh,
is what I will say. For those people who are watching and want and like part of our conversation, go ahead and scan and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, right? We'll go ahead and leave that up for a little bit. I'm gonna say the reason why this is important, and why I'm gonna say right here, field trips are very complicated. But here's the thing, children get lost on field trips too. And that's why keeping your kids safe can actually help solve that problem. You don't. So when I was on field trips, I'm counting 7. Oh my gosh, we got 7. Good Lord. When we went to 6, I was like, everybody, we can't spread out. Now got to find a kid. You
mhm,
don't have to worry about that, because at the end of the day, when you scan all of those children onto the school bus, you'll know exactly who's missing. So if you have more questions about how to use our software for your field trips, please give us a call and send me a direct message. So my thing is that 25 is when I seen my daughter, actually, I seen the shift happen. Our conversations were different. She was actually glowing in a different way. And at that point, I realized she was leaving childhood behind. And now our conversations were more solid and together. And now I had 24 years, 25 years of a relationship built with her, that now I can actually transition over to a true spectator of her life, and then begin a friendship in a different way. I will not necessarily really be friends with her in terms like I'm with my friends, right? But our friendship will be slightly different, but respectful and accepted. And that's only because she became an adult and realized it was all about her for 20 something years, but then what mom wasn't such a jerk all the time. There was a reason why she did what she did, and she can have respect for that. Now, to protect those who are guilty, we did have the opposite side of that who decided to be friends with them, and that mess did not work out well.
I can vouch for that one too. So, and we could probably talk about that because if two parents are not on board with that, it's better to err on the side of having the boundaries than to have being a child, because then what happens is the other spouse is the disciplinarian and has to handle everything that comes through, and because the other one is a friend, so it puts a larger strain on the relationship. And then the children impacts the children because there's more stress at their home. So the boundaries, I think, making sure that we are setting those boundaries for our children is extremely important, and for parents to work together as a team and not be a divided front on that is important. The other thing is that my my daughter is now 26. So,
Welcome to the club, friend.
yeah.
They're
So
totally different now, aren't
it
they?
is. So I was leaving an appointment and I heard, "I love you, mom." So before, for probably about, oh gosh, I would probably say probably about 10 years, I
Mhm.
was saying, "I love you," and like in a text, and maybe getting it back, maybe not, or maybe it would be like a couple of times. So I would get it, but not like consistently. When I would always say I love you first. Now it's I love you, mom, and there's a joyfulness and there's
Yeah.
appreciation, because there's that understanding of how much you've done for them, and also because as parents we do sacrifice a lot. We sacrifice a lot for our children, so
Right.
we do.
This is
So
very interesting. So I'm recording. Get out. Um, Now that's going to be on the video. Like, but you
blooper. We need like a blooper thing.
wait. This is what I'm going to tell you. Real life. This is what happens. You can never tell. So this is what I'm talking about for when you talk about boundaries. Like you have certain boundaries that they infringe upon all the time. And sometimes when they're under the age of 25, they don't realize what those boundaries, what that can mean, the implications behind them breaching those, right?
Right.
And they want to be seen as adults and humans and things like that, and we do all of that for them. But then when with friendships, so let's take a look at some of the relationships we have seen who have said, I'm friends with my children. They're not respected. The parents are not always respected. They are disrespected, and a lot of the ones that I've seen, I've literally like, oh, I can't be here, I gotta go. Because in my opinion, why are you talking to your parent like that? So it doesn't matter what they've done. Do you understand what it takes to get you here and to be alive, right?
Mhm.
It is hard to get it is hard to get children to a healthy place. But children don't understand that. And when I didn't understand when it was me. I didn't understand. I was like, I thought my mom was mean. I just don't understand why she was a fun snatcher. You always trying to
See,
snatch.
that's what I was called. I was called the fun police. Yeah, never mind. I won't go into that, but you probably can figure out how that all happened because I was a disciplinarian. So I was the fun police. But actually, I think I'm pretty fun. So, I mean, I like being with myself. I like doing fun things.
I love that,
I
Christine. I
mean,
love that.
it is.
I like being with myself. I think I'm
I like
fun.
being with myself. I'm a lot of fun.
Girl,
So,
I'm a whole lot of fun, but I
yeah.
will flip on a dime in a heartbeat. Like I would, let me tell you, I was a band parent. So I wasn't a booster. So I was a band parent. So I'm in this, I would go every week running down the field, doing all those things. And I was putting in the effort. I was pouring into a band that I knew would eventually start to give back. At some point in time, I was hoping maybe. And I'm down there and I'm like, okay, I have to be at this football game every week, or I have to be watching this. I have to be taking them to these band competitions every other week. We were in these things, right? So, do I want to sit there and just be like, well, I'm just here, friends, or did I want to participate and be a part of it? So, me, I was the one parent, and I have never seen this ever again. I haven't seen it before, and I haven't seen it since. I would be up in the stands dancing, girl. I was dancing to the music and I was jamming. And, I got other parents to get up and dance. And the kids, the students, they got used to seeing me. They were happy that I was around. So I thought, and
Right.
it was cool. So I'm a fun parent. But every once in a while, I had to get right. And I would be like, hey, I'm going to need you to settle down. This is not acceptable, and then they would get it together, and then I would go back to being fun, because at the end of the day, I'm not your parent. But here's my one friend: you parent one, you parent them all.
Yeah.
But I'm not your parent. I'm not your parent to take home, but I am a parent, and I understand the responsibility of a parent is to make sure you make it home safely. And you can't be safe if you're doing something unsafe.
Mhm.
And I would be wrong for me to sit and watch you do unsafe things and not say anything.
Right. Right. I would agree with you. Yeah. So what do we decide? So we decided that is
I don't
not a
believe
good
this is a,
idea. Not a good idea. Mm-mm.
it's
They can
not.
cause more harm than there's benefits.
So what is the harm that you see in a classroom? Because there is a difference. So you have parents now today who want to be friends with their children, and they do not discipline, nor do they structure their lives. How does that affect how you have to handle that in a classroom? Because that is a big thing.
So I'm going to go back because I don't want to just pinpoint like this year. I'm going to go back and then I'm going to also pull some couple things together so it's just not one student. So it's going to be like fictitious. So it's going to take me just a minute because you have to be careful because you don't want to like say children's names or describe
Correct.
things. So what I've noticed, I'm going to generalize here because of some of that. Um, that the children that do not have structure at home that can do whatever they want, the tablet is the babysitter, it is the parent. And there are pop-up videos that parents don't even know about that all of
Yeah.
a sudden are jump scare videos. And so we have children that are having difficulty with what they're seeing and having nightmares and then telling me, and this has been going on for several years, Mrs. Jones, I feel off. I don't, there's something wrong. And I'm like, so when you tell me that it's over like a dream, is that's what's happened? And they're like, yes, that's what's happened. So they're coming to me like 10:30, 11 o'clock with bad dreams over what they've seen through their video games. Or when we think that we want to be their friend, I'll let my 5-year-old watch Call of Duty because that's real cool. So let's go ahead and let them watch Call of Duty and let them watch Chucky and all of those shows. What the problem is that children don't know the difference between real and pretend. So
Yeah.
when they see something on the screen, it is real, and you cannot tell them otherwise because they just saw it on TV, like
Mm.
Jurassic Park. I cannot tell my students, even though the ones that have watched Jurassic Park, I cannot tell them that humans and dinosaurs never were together because it is real. They saw it on TV. So we have to be very careful. They also push boundaries a lot more. Their self control is less. I've had parents tell me that they're going to cut back on their child's video intake to 2 hours per night. Mm-hmm.
Also, we need to have another conversation about screen time because that's very damaging.
Yeah,
So,
and that's what I see a lot of because they don't have responsibility at home. So what chores do you have? Well, nothing. Do you have to clean your room? Well, no. I was like, wait, what? So, a 5-year-old can have responsibility and clean up their own messes.
yeah, so that means you deal with that at the classroom when it's time clean up, and then they don't want to clean up. I didn't have to clean up at home. Why do I have to clean up here? That's your job, right?
Oh no, they clean up because I have set boundaries and they know. I also back it up to preferred activities because there's boundaries and they know, and they know what's going to be coming next right after. So there's structure, predictability.
I
So
think so. Okay, so I get it. So I think that sending our children to school. So let me go back to this one part. I think no, I don't think. I talk about this a lot, and I make sure to make it a thing so that so we all understand where we're coming from when it comes to that. I firmly believe a healthy child needs the home being the parent one, plus the school being parent two, plus the community as bonus parents create the most healthiest of children. And that's because parent one, if you have structure, if you don't have any structure, don't worry, school will take care of it because they're going to put structure in place. Now, what happens at home is something totally different. But at the end of the day, if you send a student to school who is undisciplined, without structure, and the wrong expectation, when they meet the brick wall that is parent number two, that school says, here is structure, here are expectations, and we do not tolerate that. So this actually feeds into the idea and the understanding that school suspensions for children under 8th grade is high, and most of the children are a lot of the suspensions happen pre-K to K, like the pre-K to 2, where they get a lot more suspensions because there's no structure, the expectation has not been explained, and those children are getting away with a lot. So you have the school that's helping to put the structure in place, but home should actually build the foundation of the structure. But then when you add the bonus parent, let me tell you, you don't structure at home, school structures at school. And community says you cannot bust my window with that baseball bat or ball. That is another type of structure that will land you in court, that will land your child in juvenile detention, and will actually cause other people to do harm to your children. So being here's the thing I'll say. You want to be, as a parent, if you want to be friends with your children who are under the age of 18, no problem. Have at it. But understand the correction will happen with or without you. So school will correct and the community will correct, even if you refuse to correct. So you can maintain your relationship with your friend who is your child. But when the juvenile center gets a hold of them, and then ultimately the jail system gets a hold of them, you will lose all control over your children. And I don't believe that that's what we want to do. So what we do at home impacts all the other people that your child comes into contact with. And until we make a decision that how we want that experience to be, being friends with your children, not the answer, because you don't have to, you can be friends if you want, but other people are going to take care of that. And it is not going to be out of the same love that you can have for your child when you teach them structure from home. That's what that's about. And I've seen it so many times. And I have friends right now. They're always trying to be friends with their children. And they were like, "You gonna be my friend?" Mm-mm. No, ma'am. No, sir. I won't not. But I can hang out with you for a little bit. We can play. We can play all the way up until I'll play with you for 30 minutes. And then we will move on. And we get down. I get down on the floor and play. I do.
Mhm.
Children like me once we get over this one hump. Don't hit me and don't do things like don't do certain
Right.
things. But
Mhm.
then after that, we're cool. I can play with you. I listen to your music and everything like that. I'll even watch what you're watching. I like Moana and I like Encanto. I like Disney movies. I watch them by myself. What we saying, right? But I just don't. I think that we're sending mixed messages when we are choosing to be friends with our children under age 25,
I
and
agree.
it's hurting them because that's why they're so disrespectful to everybody else out here on this planet.
I would agree.
So it's just like that. So that's where we are, and I think that and so at the end of it, we agree. So again, if you can do me a favor, please, friends who are hanging out with us and have decided to say, okay, cool, go ahead and please like and subscribe to the channel. You can see more videos of what we have here and listen to more Breaking Through the Contradictions. Because again, a lot of the things we talk about, there are real life things that are going on that people are doing and how it's negatively impacting. So your friendships hurts Christine. That's
And
how
who
I look at it.
communities.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very sad. So cool. So this was a nice conversation.
Yes, it was. As always.
As always, this is cool. I like it. I'm glad that we're doing this. I think that is very is good for everyone. And just know that we are all part of a community and our actions do hurt and impact other people. So
Yeah.
you got final words, Christine?
My final words are that we need to think about the children where we want them to be as adults and raise our children with that end result or end how we want them to look, how we want them to behave in society, and raise our children with structure and discipline. Discipline meaning that they have boundaries, um, and that we are respectful to them and that we make sure that they feel seen, valued, and heard because they are young, but they do need those boundaries and we need to be able to scaffold it up to make sure that they are able to hit those milestones. And if we are friends with them, we will not be giving them the guidance that they need to be successful. And you will have your young women or young men living in the house. And if that's what you want for the rest of their lives, then that's fine. But if you don't, then we need to provide the structure and guidance.
Yes. Be the bumper for your kid.
Yes.
Right? And
Yeah.
fight the people that could be bumpers for your kids.
Mhm.
Yes. So this is cool. I'm glad we had this conversation. So here we are. Until next time, remember, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely. Thank you for your time today. We appreciate the support and look forward to you visiting us again next week. Same time, same place. Until then, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely. If you have an interest in discussing a contradiction or would like to be on our live show, please let us know and send us a direct message.